And that, of course, it's a movie, so there's going to be a happy ending or a sad ending. As I'm watching it, never seen it before, I know it's going to have to be a happy movie because it's called The Christmas Story. So this kid's going through this turmoil trying to get this toy.
Why are you trying to make an analogy that you don't like work for you in this way? Why are you trying to twist that thing that doesn't work for anyone into something when you have access to the laws of the universe?
Well, I think it's because I'm trying to understand, does my desire have to be pinpoint or generalized?
That's a really significant question. And we know if you've been listening to us for any length of time at all, you think we're a little schizophrenic. Because sometimes we tell you, be clear, be specific, script what you want. And other times we say, be general, back up, get into a daydream state. But the reason that we say different things to you at different times is because if you don't believe, then stop thinking, because you're not helping yourself. If you do believe, then think more, because you are helping yourself. If your desire and your belief are in the same place, then the more you think about it, the better you feel. But if your desire and your belief are not in the same place, then the more you think about it, the worse you feel. Here's the best analogy. So you go into your living room, and there's the big old beautiful vacuum cleaner. Santa just brought it. And you're going to vacuum the living room, but you don't bother to plug it in. You flip the switch. It's a very quiet vacuum. And you run it over all of the carpet in this big room. You leave tracks everywhere. Or you could plug it in and get a much better effect. And so we're asking you to pay attention to what it feels like to be plugged into the power of the universe. Feels like joy, feels like elation, feels like satisfaction on steroids. Or to not be plugged in, which feels like insecurity and doubt and competition and struggle and worry. First order of business, are you plugged in? If you're plugged in, think as much as you can think about it, because every thought will be pleasurable. If you're plugged in, think as much as you can about it, not because you need to think about it to make it happen. That's already underway, but because thinking about it is fun. So the rule of thumb is get plugged in and then think about it. And if you're not plugged in, you can't do too much damage if you're not plugged in, because now you don't have the power that creates worlds flowing through you. But there is a pretty steady stream of pessimism and all the thoughts that humans have thought. In other words, you can get a pretty good tailspin going in that nightmare that you think as you're pessimistic about your life. But we get it. We see why little kids become grown-ups and don't believe in their own ability to create, because they've been sold a bunch of flawed premises, like there is a God who is judging you, or a Santa Claus who is judging you, or parents and teachers who are continually judging you, where you come to believe that you've got to please them first, and if you please them, then everything will be all right. But then they let you down over and over again, because first of all, it's not their job to hold you as their singular object of attention. Next of all, they're not that interested in you. They're not the source through which your well-being flows. They're here to co-create with you, and they're here to stimulate you to what you want. And certainly there are wonderful experiences to be had. But the reason that there are so many of you who are co-creating together is because together you come to more and more positive conclusions about what would be better in this co-creating experience. You don't give each other power. In fact, humans detract power from each other constantly, because as you stand in judgment of someone, like, I don't like the way you look, or I don't like where you come from, or I don't like your sexual orientation, or your religious orientation, or your political orientation, or I'm in this world with you and I don't like you for some reason. Well, that has no power to you, except the power that you assign to it by deciding that you will be inferior because of this. The real damage is happening to the person who is choosing to look at you in a way that his inner being won't look at you. So he's pinching himself off from his power and his resources and blaming you for it. And you get enough people who are using you as their negative object of attention. Pretty soon, you cannot feel that good about yourself. But when you get it, that none of them have any power, they only have the power to influence you to your own disconnection. And you only have the power to influence others to their disconnection, or maybe to influence them to their connection. Before you came into this physical body, you were source energy. You were a consciousness, aware of all that is, and keenly aware of this time-space reality. And so part of that consciousness was directed here. And here you were born into this body. Splat, here you are. Now, this non-physical consciousness that you were before you got here still exists. And all that you've ever been, all that you've been in the process of becoming, still exists. All the pure positive energy, all that you have lived and all that you've come to be, you still be. But now, as that non-physical consciousness, you be more, because here is this physical being in a new place, having new experiences and asking for new things. This combination of beings has never been before unto all of the universe. And so together we are moving forward, whether you can feel it or not. It's happening just as a result of your questions and our answers, and your responses to our answers, and your responses to his questions. In other words, this is an expanding universe that is in the process of expanding right here and now. And so you just, not just you, but you all just became more than you were before you came up here and we had this conversation. We are all more than we have been before, and your inner beings have all embraced the incremental expansion and are holding that steady place. Now you, in your physical form, have an option of staying up to speed with what we are becoming, and in a room like this it's easier to do. Or you can go back to your neighborhood and back to your mother and back to the disconnected others, back to your television, back to the meanness, back to the boldness, back to the pressure, back to the whatever. And you can not allow your consciousness to move forward with what just happened here.